glaucoma. Okay, before going directly into the drugs, first you should know what is glaucoma. Okay, what are the causes of glaucoma, and how will we prevent or how will you treat the case of glaucoma. So let's start with the introduction. So this is a glaucoma is a condition rather than to define as a disease. It is a condition which is characterized by an increase in intraocular pressure. So whenever there is an increase in the intraocular pressure, there may be chance of glaucoma. Okay, intraocular pressure when increase more than 21 mm of Hg. Clear? So we have normal range of the intraocular pressure is 10 to 20 mm of Hg. So when this intraocular pressure increase more than 21 millimeter of mercury, then this is a condition of glaucoma. Okay. So this intraocular pressure is generally created by the aqueous humor. So aqueous humor is a watery fluid that is present in our eyes. Okay, that is secreted in the eyes by the ciliary epithelium. So that aqueous humor is responsible for the intraocular pressure or intraocular tension. So when the normal range exceed, then there is a condition known as glaucoma. So when there is an increase in the intraocular pressure more than 21 millimeter of mercury, then we can say it is a condition of glaucoma. Clear? So if this condition persists for a long time, so if the condition is not treated or it is persist for a long time, then it may lead to the damage to the optic nerve. So you can see, can you see my cursor here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Whenever there is an increase in the concentration of intraocular pressure, okay, there is a rise in the intraocular tension, and that will press the optic nerve. Okay, this is the retina. The retina is continued with the optic nerve. So this optic nerve is responsible for the carrying of different visual information from the retina, and it passes to the visual center in the brain. So when there is increase in intraocular pressure inside the eye, it will press this optic nerve. Okay, and there may be chance of damage to this optic nerve and may lead to the blindness and permanent loss of vision to the person. Okay, so we have to treat this condition as soon as possible, or otherwise we may have blindness due to this persistent rise in intraocular pressure. Clear? So this is glaucoma. So what are the causes of glaucoma? So basically, there are two causes of the glaucoma. Either it is due to the increased production of the aqueous humor, okay, or there is an impaired in drainage of the aqueous humor. Always there should be balance between the production and the drainage of the aqueous humor. So by any condition or by the any disease condition, when there is a imbalance between these two factors, okay, when there is an imbalance between the production and the drainage of the aqueous humor, and the person may suffer from glaucoma because of the increase in intraocular tension. So the main aim of our treatment is to decrease or to manage these two conditions, okay, by decreasing intraocular pressure, either by decreasing the secretion of the aqueous humor or by promoting the drainage of the aqueous humor. So we have to treat glaucoma to decrease intraocular pressure, to achieve these two conditions, okay, to decrease the secretion of aqueous humor or to increase its drainage or promoting its drainage of aqueous humor. So this is our main therapeutic goal. This is our main aim, to give drugs to the patient, okay, in glaucoma patient. So you should know about the synthesis and the drainage of the aqueous humor before going directly into the drugs, okay. First of all, you should have the clear concept on synthesis and how the aqueous humor is drained, to know the mechanism of action of the different drugs, to know the site of the action of the different drugs. So you should know, you should have the clear concept regarding this, okay, synthesis and drainage of the aqueous humor. I think all of you know the structure of the eye. So this is the side view of the eye. This is the eyelid, okay, that protect our eye. This is the outer layer is the cornea. Okay, this cornea is continuous in the posterior region with the sclera. Okay, this is the sclera, this is the cornea, and this inner layer, okay, second layer is choroid. And then the third or innermost layer is the retina. Okay, this retina is continued with the optic nerve posteriorly. And we have this iris muscles, okay, in two sides of the eye both. And we have the lens. So the lens is connected to the ciliary body with the suspensory ligament. So can you see here in the dark black color? This is the suspensory ligament attached lens with the ciliary body. Here, these are the iris muscles, and these are the suspensory ligament, and these are the trabecular mesoc. So this is the structure of the eye. I think all of you know this. So let's see how the aqueous humor is synthesized and drained. So aqueous humor is a transparent watery fluid which is similar to the plasma. Okay, it is a very transparent fluid similar to plasma. The only difference is that the plasma is having high protein concentration, whereas this aqueous humor having less protein content. Okay, otherwise it is almost similar to that of plasma. So it is synthesized by the ciliary epithelium in the posterior chamber of the eye. So in the eye we have the anterior chamber. Okay, this above the iris muscle we have the anterior chamber, and below the iris muscles there is posterior chamber. Okay, always the aqueous humor is produced or synthesized in the posterior chamber. Here, okay, these are the iris muscles, and these are the suspensory ligament. This is lens. This is sclera, and this is cornea. This is the anterior chamber, and this is a posterior chamber. Okay, these are the epithelium, ciliary epithelium. Can you see here? These are the epithelial cells. Okay, epithelium where this aqueous humor is synthesized. Yes? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Where the aqueous humor is synthesized. Okay, and this synthesized aqueous humor is released in this posterior chamber, and then this from the posterior chamber, this aqueous humor flows through this way. Okay, between the iris and the lens, it passes through this way by passing between the iris and the lens, and ultimately it reaches to the anterior chamber of the eye. Okay, this is the anterior chamber, and finally it leaves the anterior chamber of the eye by passing through this trabecular mesoc. Can you see here? Trabecular mesoc. There is intersected line. This is a trabecular mesoc. Okay, so this is the angle. This is the iridocorneal angle, the angle between the cornea and the iris. Okay, this is the iridocorneal angle, so where this trabecular mesoc and canal of Slim is located. Here, this is known as iridocorneal angles or ocular angles. This is very important to know. Okay, so finally the aqueous humor that is coming from this posterior chamber, they pass from between the lens and the iris and reaches to the anterior chamber, and finally it leaves the anterior chamber and it passes through the this trabecular mesoc and reaches to the canal of Slim, and from here this aqueous humor is drained into the circulation, venous circulation through aqueous vein. Okay, they are drained away by the aqueous vein and finally reaches to the venous circulation. So this is how the aqueous humor is synthesized and drained in the eye. Here, so if you know this, then it is very easy for you to know about the drugs. Okay, so there are different drugs which act on the different sites here. Okay, some drugs act in this epithelium, some drugs they act on the iris. Okay, so you should know this very clearly, how the aqueous humor is synthesized and it's drained. Here, so these are the ciliary muscles. Okay, in which this muscarinic receptor are present. These are the sphincter pupillae muscles of the iris. These are the dilator muscles in which the alpha receptor is present. Okay, various adrenergic drugs act over here, which constrict the iris muscles that cause dilatation of the pupil, whereas sphincter muscles is present here, which cause constriction of this sphincter muscles that leads to constriction of the pupil. aqueous humor flows either through this way. Okay, this is the trabecular outflow where it passes through from the trabecular mesoc and reaches to the canal of Slim. This is the trabecular pathway. 90% of the aqueous humor they pass through this way. Okay, trabecular pathway or trabecular outflow. Whereas some portion of the aqueous humor they pass through the ciliary body and reaches to the sclera. Okay, from where it is drained by the aqueous vein and finally it reaches to the venous circulation. That is known as uveoscleral pathway. Okay, there are two pathways of outflow of the aqueous humor. About 90% they pass through this trabecular outflow. Okay, by passing through the trabecular mesoc. Whereas only 10% of the aqueous humor they pass through this uveoscleral outflow from the ciliary body into the sclera and finally it reaches to the venous circulation. So you can see here in the very clear diagram. Okay, so this aqueous humor are synthesized over here and they are passed through this way between the iris and the lens and finally it reaches to the anterior chamber and it follows the two pathway either through the trabecular outflow or through the uveoscleral outflow. So 90% pass through this pathway through the trabecular outflow, trabecular mesoc, and only 10% they pass through the uveoscleral pathway. So we have two types of glaucoma. Okay. Based on the different etiological factors, we can divide this glaucoma into two types. Open angle glaucoma, or we can say wide angle glaucoma, or chronic simple glaucoma. The next one is a narrow angle closed or acute congestive glaucoma. Okay. So let's see what is open angle glaucoma. Okay, open angle. So by the name, we can assume that the angle is open. That is a iridio. There is no obstruction in the iridocorneal angle. Okay, this is the iridocorneal angle. That is the angle between the iris and the cornea. So in the open glaucoma, open angle glaucoma, this angle is not obstructed at all. Okay, so there is this angle is wide. So you can say it is a wide angle glaucoma. So the only defect is that it is defect in the trabecular mesoc. Okay, it is a decrease in the patency of the loss of patency of this trabecular mesoc. So there is a decrease in the outflow of the aqueous humor through this trabecular pathway. So this is the open angle glaucoma or wide angle glaucoma. This is a type of the genetically inherited disease. Okay, genetically predisposed degenerative type of the disease. This open angle glaucoma. So I have already said that this is in this type of the glaucoma, the angle iridocorneal angles remains wide. Okay, there is no obstruction in this angle, but the only defect in the trabecular mesoc, patency of the trabecular mesoc, in which its patency is gradually lost. Okay, because of the degenerative disease, so that there is a decreased outflow of the aqueous humor. So progressively there is a rise in the intraocular tension in long term. Okay, not acutely. So outflow of the aqueous humor gets impeded because of the loss of patency of the trabecular mesoc. Outflow is impeded or hampered. So progressively there is a rise in the intraocular tension. So for this condition we have to give ocular hypotensive drugs. That means the drugs which decrease the synthesis of the aqueous humor production. Okay, so we have to give the ocular hypotensive drugs. So these are the very definitive treatment in this type of glaucoma. In open angle glaucoma, we have to give the ocular hypotensive drugs. So you can see here in the figure, this is a open angle glaucoma, this is a closed angle glaucoma or acute congestive glaucoma. In this glaucoma, you can see here the angle is wide. Okay, there is no obstruction in the iridocorneal angles. The aqueous humor can easily pass through these angles, but it cannot reach to the canal of Slim because the patency of trabecular mesork is lost. Okay, and progressively there is a rise in the intraocular tension in the posterior chamber. But you can see here, okay, in case of narrow or closed angle glaucoma, the angle is constricted, so there is obstruction in the iridocorneal angles. So there is a sudden rise in the intraocular tension in case of acute congestive glaucoma. This is the acute condition, which is a medical emergency. So acute congestive glaucoma, we have to treat the patient as soon as possible. Otherwise, there may be chance of damage to the optic nerve and may lead to blindness. Yes, so this is a open angle glaucoma. This is a closed angle glaucoma. So we classify the drugs used in the glaucoma in various ways. Okay, on the basis of route of administration, also we can divide the drugs. Either it is used topically or systemically. So some drugs they are used by topically, the eye drops. So accordingly, we classify the drugs as a topical drugs, like beta adrenergic blockers. In this we have timolol, betoxolol, levobunolol, cartelol. So these are the beta blockers that can be used by topical route. It is an eye drop. Okay. Next we have the alpha adrenergic agonist. In this we have the difluprednine, apraclonidine, and brimonidine. So these also you can give by the topical application. Likewise, we have the prostaglandin analog, latanoprost, travoprost, and bimatoprost. So other group is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So these carbonic anhydrase inhibitors also they decrease the aqueous humor production. So these drugs we can use either topically or we can use intravenous also. In emergency condition, we can use systemically. Otherwise, we can use topical route also. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Likewise, we have myotics, sympathomimetic drugs like pilocarpine, isostigmine, ecothiopate also we can use as a eye drop, as a topical application. These drugs also have systemic preparation as well. So in emergency conditions, sometimes we can use it systemically. So in systemic agents, we have carbonic anhydrase inhibitors like acetazolamide, osmotic diuretics, mannitol, glycerin, etc., and cholinergic drugs, that is pilocarpine. This is how we can classify the drugs based on the route of administration. Either we can use topically or systemically. Another way also we can classify the drugs based on mechanism of action. Okay, how does this drug act? So these are classified into two groups: the drugs which increase the outflow of the aqueous humor, the drugs which reduce the aqueous humor formation. So these are classified into two groups: drugs that decrease the aqueous humor formation, we have beta blockers, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, and alpha-2 agonists. Whereas the drugs which increase the outflow of the aqueous humor, either by increasing uvascular outflow or by increasing the trabecular outflow. Okay, the drugs which increase the uvascular outflow, we have the prostaglandin analogs, and which increase the trabecular outflow, we have the cholinergic drugs like pilocarpine. Okay, so this is how we can classify the drugs based on the mechanism of action. So you can see here in this diagram, various drugs act on the different parts of the eyes. So these are the beta blockers, alpha-1, alpha-2 agonist, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Okay, they act on the ciliary, body ciliary epithelium that decrease the aqueous humor formation and synthesis and release. Okay, this beta blockers and alpha and alpha 2 agonist. What is these myotic drugs? They act on this sphincter pupillae muscles that cause constriction of these muscles, sphincter pupillae, by acting on the muscarinic receptor, M1 receptor, so that it increase the patency of this. So it reverse the obliteration of this angle. So when this muscles is contract, then this will pulls the iris towards itself, so the angles become wide. Okay, so that will reverse the obliteration of the angles by these myotic agents. And likewise, these prostaglandin analogs, they also increase the uveoscleral outflow by increasing the permeability of this ciliary epithelium, ciliary bodies. Okay, so this prostaglandin analogs increase the uveoscleral outflow. And also this myotics also contraction of the ciliary bodies that finally increase this uveoscleral outflow. Okay, this is how the different drugs act on the different parts of the eye and helps in the decrease in the aqueous humor or increase in the outflow in the drainage of aqueous humor. So let's start with the beta blockers. Okay, this is the drugs that decrease aqueous humor production. So this beta blockers is a first line drugs in case of open or wide angle glaucoma. Here we have different drugs like timolol, cartellol, levoginols, and betoxolol. So these are the very popular drugs which are used by the topical route in case of open angle glaucoma. Okay. So these drugs decrease the aqueous humor production by acting on the ciliary epithelial cells. Okay. By acting on the ciliary epithelial cells, it inhibits beta receptors present in the ciliary epithelium. So you can see here in this figure. So this is a ciliary body. Okay, in the ciliary body we have the ciliary epithelium. This is a ciliary epithelium. So this is the ciliary body in which we have the different blood vessels present. So these are the epithelium in which there is a beta 2 receptors present and alpha 2 receptors also present over here. So these beta blockers act on this beta 2 receptors. Usually when this beta 2 receptors is stimulated, there is an increase in the cyclic AMP formation, and this cyclic AMP formation ultimately increase the release of the aqueous humor. Okay, increase synthesis of aqueous humor. So by blocking these beta 2 receptors, and this decrease the cyclic AMP formation, ultimately there is a decreased synthesis and release of the aqueous humor. Clear? So this beta 2 receptors inhibit this beta 2 receptor blockers inhibit this receptors that is present in the ciliary epithelium, which is responsible for the synthesis of aqueous humor. Clear? This is mainly due to the down regulation of adenylene cyclase. Okay, adenylene cyclase is required for the formation of cyclic AMP formation. Okay, so when this adenylene cyclase is down regulated, then there is a decrease in cyclic AMP formation. So ultimately there is a decreased synthesis of aqueous humor. Also, these drugs decrease the aqueous humor production by reducing the ocular blood flow. Okay, because this is inhibiting the beta 2 receptor, no? So it also decreases the ocular blood flow by constricting the blood vessels. So this is how these beta blockers helps in open angle glaucoma by decreasing the synthesis of aqueous humor by down regulating adenylene cyclase enzymes. Okay, that is responsible for the cyclic AMP formation. So these drops we can administer by the topical route. It is eye drops, so that we can avoid the systemic effect. If you use by the topical route, then systemic side effect will not be there. It is a highly lipophilic drug, so it can easily enter into the ocular fluid, okay, in the eyes, but it doesn't have any local anesthetic action. So some beta blockers, they have local anesthetic action as well, that may produce the numbness of these eyes, okay, but these drugs, these beta blockers, do not have this local anesthetic action, like timolol, betoxolol. They do not have any local anesthetic action. So this is the first line drugs in case of open angle glaucoma. Previously, from the very beginning, this drugs is using as a first line drugs. But nowadays, like prostaglandin analogs also comes in the market. So this prostaglandin analogs that replace this beta blockers. But the main drawbacks of this prostaglandin analogs is it is somehow expensive. So this drug is specially used in the developed countries only. Okay, it's a regular use mostly in the developed countries because of its expensive in nature. Okay, here so let's see what are the advantages of these beta blockers over other conventional miotics, cholinergic agents like pilocarpine. Okay, what are the advantages of beta blockers over pilocarpine or miotics drugs? It do not affect the pupil size. That means the miotics agents, okay, these miotic agents constrict pupil by constricting the circular muscles of the iris. No, so these drugs, but these beta blockers do not affect the pupil size because it does not have any effect in the constriction of the muscles of the eyes. It just decrease the aqueous humor synthesis by blocking the beta receptor only. So it does not have any effect on the pupil size. So there is no any diminution of the visions. No induced myopia in young patient. And myopia means it is a short sightedness. That means the person can see object in the near, but when the person see the object in the far, there may be blur of the visions. So it is a short sightedness. So it does not affect, it does not produce any myopia in such individuals, like in young patient. It doesn't have effect like headache. Okay. No fluctuation in the intraocular pressure. There is a smooth decrease in the intraocular pressure by beta blockers. But some drugs like miotics, there may be chance of fluctuation of intraocular pressure. Sometimes it increases, sometimes it decreases. Okay, so there is a fluctuation in intraocular pressure by miotics, but beta blockers does not produce such fluctuation in intraocular pressure. It is a more convenient because we can give once or twice daily dose. Because of the longer duration of action, we can instill 2 times a day or sometimes once a day. So this is convenient for the patient. Yeah. So it has some adverse effect. It is divided into 2 types: ocular adverse drug reaction and systemic adverse drug reaction. So in the eye, it produces stinging sensation, redness of the eye, dryness of the eye, and allergic type of the reaction, because we are instilling by topical route. No, so these drugs have some ocular side effect. Also, this drugs is given by the topical route. It has some systemic side effect as well. So because this drugs is absorbed through the nasolacrimal duct. I think all of you know what is nasolacrimal duct. So in the corner of the eye, we have the nasolacrimal duct. Tear.
सब कुछ off है.
Yes. What happened? Can you see here in the figure? This is a nasolacrimal duct. Okay, this nasolacrimal duct that drains the tear, whatever produced in the eye, they are drained through this nasolacrimal duct and it reaches to the nasal cavity. Clear? So when you install the eye, okay, beta blockers, when you install the beta blockers through topical route, and some parts of these drugs that is absorbed through this nasolacrimal duct. Okay, and finally it reaches to the nose and it reaches to the blood circulation. That may produce a systemic effect. Okay, because of this reason, why the drugs given in the topical route also produce systemic effect. So this is the reason, okay, because the drops is absorbed through this nasolacrimal duct and it reaches to the nasal cavity, from where it reaches to the blood circulation and produce systemic side effect. Clear? So to prevent that, we have to press the inner canthus of the eye. So this is the inner canthus of the eye. As soon as we instill the drops in the eye, we have to press the inner canthus of the eye to prevent the systemic side effect. For at least 5 minutes, we have to press it, okay, in the inner canthus of the eye to prevent the systemic side effect. So the systemic side effect may be they may affect the cardiovascular system as well as the respiratory system. So in cardiovascular system, it may produce bradycardia. So by blocking the beta 1 and beta 2 receptors that is present in our heart, it causes bradycardia, stole, and syncope. Likewise, it also blocks the beta 2 receptors of the lungs. Okay, well, that is responsible for the bronchodilation. So by blocking the beta 2 receptors, it produces bronchospasm. Clear? So the person who are asthmatic, who are COPD patients, so these drugs we should not give. We have to avoid this non-selective beta blockers in such type of the patient, those having the cardiovascular problems and those having the any respiratory problems like asthma and COPD. Because although you have given by the topical route, it may have chance to produce systemic side effect. Clear? So for this, we have to give the selective beta blockers, not non-selective beta blockers. Okay. This figure I have already explained why topical drugs produce systemic side effect, because they are absorbed through this nasolacrimal duct. So to prevent that, we have to press the inner canthus of the eye as soon as we instill the drops in the eye for at least 5 minutes. Prevent systemic side effect. Let's talk about timolol. Okay, timolol is a non-selective beta blockers. That means it inhibits both beta 1 and beta 2 receptor. So it is non-selective. It is a prototype of beta blockers. It doesn't have any local anesthetic action or it doesn't have any intrinsic sympathomimetic action. So some beta blockers, they have intrinsic sympathomimetic action as well. That means the drugs can be act as a agonistic action. Okay, in some concentration, it may act as a agonistic action, but this timolol does not have such type of action. Clear? When you give by the topical route, it decreases the intraocular tension by 20 to 35%. Okay, within 1 hour of instilling these drugs, the intraocular tension falls by 20 to 35%. And this will last for 24 hours. Okay, this action lasts for 24 hours. So if you will use these drugs for the long term, that after the chronic dosing of these drugs, the action is very smooth and well sustained. Okay, this is another advantage of beta blockers. Because after the long use of the drugs, the action is very smooth and well sustained. And the effect persists for 2 to 3 weeks following discontinuation. That means after stopping the drugs also, the effect of the drugs persists for at least 2 to 3 weeks. So which indicate the high level of clinical safety of these drugs. Even if you forget to instill these drugs, the effect will persist. Okay, there is no decrease in the effectiveness of the drugs because the effect is persist for 2 to 3 weeks even after discontinuation of the drugs. So this is a very important point you should know, okay, about timolol. because its action persists for 2 to 3 weeks. If you even forget the dose, there is no any matter, okay? Because the drugs continue its action. So this drugs is available in the different names like glucomol, Ocupres, okay, in the percentage of in the concentration of 0.25% and 0.5% as an eye drop. There are different brand names like glucomol, Ocupres. Likewise, we have another beta blocker, that is betoxolol. The only difference with timolol is that it is a selective beta blockers. Okay, that is a B1 selective blockers. So it is devoid of systemic side effect like cardiovascular and respiratory side effect. So this betoxolol you can give the patient who have cardiovascular and other respiratory problems because it is a beta 1 selective blockers. Less bronchopulmonary and less cardiac side effect and less central and metabolic side effect. So this drug is safer than that of the timolol. It has another advantage is that it exerts a protective effect on the retinal neurons by reducing the sodium and calcium influx. So it has a protective effect as well in the retina. But it is a less effective than that of timolol. Okay, in reducing intraocular pressure, it is not as effective as that of timolol. There are some side effects that is like transient stinging and blurring in the eye is more common with it, okay, than that of timolol. The drugs available is the Optipres, Iovate, Ocubeta in the percentage of 0.5% eye drops. So you can instill 1 drop in his eye twice a day. So these drugs, how it is differ from the timolol is that it is more selective beta 1 blockers, but it is a less efficacious than that of the timolol. That is the only difference with the timolol. Otherwise, the mechanism of action of these drugs is and the adverse drug reaction is somehow similar with that of the timolol. Here. Next up, we have levobunolone. This is also a beta blockers. Okay, but the difference is that it is a very long, it has long duration of action. So these drugs we can give only once a day. Here, because of the long duration of the action, once daily dosing is sufficient. But the other ocular and the systemic effect are very similar to timolol. Okay, the only difference is that it can be given once a day. That is, patient convenience is good. So this drug is available as a Betacane 0.5% ophthalmic solution or 1 drop once daily. Why once daily? Because it has a long duration of action. So this is all about the topical beta blockers that are used in case of open angle glaucoma. Clear? So any doubt till now regarding beta blockers?
No, no.
The main important things is to know the how these drugs decrease aqueous humor. Okay. Also important point you should know. How does this drugs produce systemic side effect? Even it is given by topical route. No doubt.
No, ma'am.
Okay. we have the next class tomorrow also for this glaucoma. Okay, same class. So I will continue in the next class. Okay, remaining portion. So if you have any doubt, we can discuss. We have 15 minutes time. Any doubt till now?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you repeat this